Have you ever found yourself puzzled at the grocery store, noticing prices climbing higher even though the news keeps talking about a weak economy? Welcome to the world of stagflation, an economic quirk where sluggish growth meets rising costs, affecting everything from your job prospects to your shopping habits. Today, we're diving into what stagflation is, why it happens, and most importantly, how it impacts you. So then, what is stagflation? It's a bit of a gloomy scenario for any economy, combining stagnation with slow or no growth in economic activity with inflation, where the prices of goods and services rise. Unlike typical economic downturns where inflation might drop due to decreased demand, stagflation is tricky because you're dealing with high prices while the economy is basically stuck in the mud. Now, you might be wondering, how does this even happen? Well, stagflation is a bit of a rare beast. It's not something you see very often, but when you do, it's memorable. The most famous case occurred in the 1970s, primarily in the United States, which was triggered by a massive rise in oil prices. But it's not just about expensive oil. Several factors contribute to this economic conundrum. These include a supply shock, like sudden increased costs in essential goods, and economic policies that perhaps didn't work out as planned, causing both slow growth and rising prices. The real kicker here is how these two factors feed into each other. High prices can lead to decreased consumer spending, which you'd think might cool off inflation. However, if the costs of producing goods, like wages or materials, remain high, businesses can't lower prices much. So, the economy doesn't grow, but prices keep on climbing. Let's take a moment to consider what this feels like on a personal level. Imagine you're seeing the cost of your groceries, gas, maybe even rent going up. At the same time, the economy is sluggish. Businesses aren't growing much. Maybe some are laying off workers or freezing hiring. And it feels like everything is getting more expensive, yet the opportunities to earn more are getting harder and harder to come by. Now, I know this sounds pretty daunting, but let's take a look at how economies deal with stagflation. Traditionally, fighting high inflation involves tightening up the money supply, essentially making it harder to get money through things like having higher interest rates. But if the economy is already struggling, raising interest rates can be like adding weight to a sinking ship. It's a delicate balance, and often, there's no perfect solution. It requires careful management from central banks and government bodies to navigate these choppy waters. So then, speaking of management, let's talk about strategies for managing your finances during times of stagflation. First off, it's crucial to focus on job security and diversifying your income streams. In uncertain economic times, having more than one source of income can provide a much-needed safety net. And next, think about your investments. Inflation can erode the real value of money, so consider investing in assets that historically outpace inflation. Think real estate, certain stocks, or commodities like gold. However, it's vital to consult with a financial advisor because everyone's financial situation and risk tolerance are different. Moreover, keeping your budget tight and building an emergency fund are more critical than ever. Prices might be rising, but having control over your spending and saving can make a significant difference. It's about making smart choices, like prioritizing needs over wants and finding cost-effective alternatives for everyday expenses. So, while stagflation is a complex and challenging economic condition, understanding it can demystify the effects it may have on your life and finances. By staying informed, planning carefully, and seeking advice when needed, you can protect your financial well-being against the rough tides of stagflation.